All right, good morning. I'm happy to be here to be providing another COVID-19 update alongside the researchers and scientists and all the doctors here at LSU Health Shreveport. We know that COVID-19 has devastated our community in so many ways. It's taken our loved ones away from us. It's shuttered small businesses in our local community. It has also changed each and every one of our lives in some unimaginable ways. And while the pandemic is not yet over, we still need to make sure we are socially distancing. We need to make sure we are following the hygiene guidelines, avoiding large gatherings. We can do that knowing that this pandemic's days are numbered. A vaccine started arriving in Shreveport earlier this week, and as we all know or have seen on social media or heard from our friends, our frontline healthcare workers have been taking that vaccine throughout the week. They have done so much to protect us against this deadly virus, and we need to make sure that they are protected while doing that all-important life-saving work. But there is another group that needs to be recognized today. We have a safe and effective vaccine because of the life-saving work done by scientists and researchers around the world, including right here at LSU Health Shreveport. Under the leadership of Dr. G.E. Ghali, LSU Health Shreveport has been a vital part of Shreveport's response to the pandemic and the international community's effort to produce a vaccine that can bring this pandemic to an end. And they will continue to play an important role. Research shows that the COVID vaccines that are rolling out are highly effective, but they are only effective if people get vaccinated. So we are encouraging everyone who can get vaccinated to get vaccinated. I will get vaccinated myself, and I will do so publicly because I want everyone to know that this vaccine is safe. Naturally, people have concerns. They want to know how a vaccine was created so quickly. They want to know if it is safe for them and their families to take. No one is more capable of answering those questions than the scientists and researchers right here at LSU Health Shreveport. So at this time, I would like to invite up Vice Chancellor for Research, Dr. Chris Kevel, to speak on the vaccine safety. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll step over this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your continued support of the LSU Health and all of the faculty, employees, and students of this great institution. We are going to have Dr. Kevel make some comments, as well as Dr. Martha White, an alumnus of our university here, the director of Region 7, Department of Health, and most importantly, a nice friend of mine for the past 25 plus years. Thank you, Mayor Perkins. On behalf of our Health Science Center, I extend my deepest thanks to you and to the city of Shreveport for recognizing the immense contributions of LSU Health Shreveport in response to this pandemic. I also want to offer my heartfelt thanks to the many LSU Health Shreveport faculty, employees, and students who have worked tirelessly to position our community and state to have access to the highest quality testing, clinical trials, and vaccines. Their efforts resulted in our community having early and ongoing access to treatments like convalescent plasma, inhaled nitric oxide, highly reliable testing, and now the Pfizer vaccine. I thank you, Mayor Perkins, for recognizing that not all first responders to this pandemic are nurses and doctors, but includes those processing test samples 6 and oftentimes 7 days a week for 12 to 14 hours, as well as those individuals providing testing in the community and in the nursing homes, prisons, congregate settings like assisted living facilities, along with those who have conducted the Pfizer vaccine trial to make sure we have access to vaccines that are safe and effective. While there are so many people who have worked these past several months, I want to recognize just a couple initially, and then I think Chris will go into it in more detail, as well Dr. White. First, John Vancherry. Dr. Vancherry, who is a pediatric infectious disease specialist as well as a noted scientist. And I don't think John was able to be here today during this conference because he's working. But Dr. Vancherry has and continues to play a vital role and dual role as the principal investigator in the Pfizer vaccine trial and as director of community testing for our Health Sciences Center. I also want to recognize my friend, Dr. Chris Kevel, our Dean of the Graduate School and Vice Chancellor for Research, who has been engaged in every single aspect of the response to this pandemic. As we move into the next phase of addressing this pandemic, which is to get our community to take the vaccine, and I might even have a needle here in my pocket, Mr. Mayor. But as we move into the next phase, which is to get our community embraced in accepting and taking the vaccine when it becomes available to them, I'd like Dr. Kevel, as a highly successful and funded scientist, to share with you about the safety of the vaccine. Dr. Kevel, can you come to the podium?
Thank you, Dr. Ghali, and thank you, Mayor Perkins, for this wonderful opportunity to share with you today some of the highlights and, more importantly, the importance of the vaccine. As Mayor Perkins said, really the safety of this vaccine and the speed at which it's been rolled out has been unprecedented. This is literally a watershed moment for humanity. At no other time have we ever seen a vaccine being created, literally, ladies and gentlemen, in 10 months. And so that's led to a lot of people in the community going, oh, this can't be real. It's not safe. They did it too quickly. Well, I'll tell you, there all are multiple reasons why this happened so successfully. And I think it's important to share that with the public. The first of which is the vaccine is safe. So Pfizer, through multiple different clinical trials, with us here in Shreveport being one of them, have enrolled well over 44,000 individuals over the globe to look at the safety and efficacy of this vaccine. Importantly, the only thing that's really been observed are mild side effects of a vaccine that you would typically expect with something like the flu vaccine. And even the most important thing is that this vaccine is 95% or greater in terms of efficacy in preventing the disease from causing, the virus from causing severe disease. So how did this happen so quickly? This just couldn't have happened so fast. Well, the reality is there'd been a lot of research occurring over the years on the SARS family of viruses. And so we really were fortunate to be able to take that knowledge, coupled with what happened at the federal level, coupled with what happened also at the pharmaceutical level and academic medical centers such as this. We literally all worked in collaboration. And what we did was we took normally the drug discovery process that goes through 3 phases over 5 to 7 years, condensed it all, superimposed it on top of one another so that we essentially ran this trial as fast as it could be possibly ran. And so that's happened not only for the Pfizer trial, it's happened for the Moderna trial, and many of the other vaccines that are currently being tested. So one last thing I will say is that as a testament to the safety of this vaccine, we're very fortunate to have our executive director of the new Center for Excellence in Emerging Viral Threats, Dr. Andrew Rajko. He and actually his daughter was one of the first young teenagers to participate in the child component of the vaccination trial. And she's back there in the audience today looking fine and healthy. And in fact, just this morning, myself and my daughter participated as well. So this illustrates to you that both Dr. Urachko and myself have a very high degree of confidence in the safety of this vaccine. Importantly, I'd like to acknowledge one individual that I think is really indispensable for those of us here at LSU being able to do what we're doing through the EVT lab, and that's our good friend, Boyd Professor Emeritus, Dr. Dennis O'Callahan. Dr. O'Callahan was instrumental 15, 20 years ago in recruiting fantastic virologists such as Dr. Urachko and many others who were critical in forming this emerging viral threat lab and a now center. There are too many names to mention, so I won't do that here. But I will tell you, here at LSU Health Shreveport, we're very fortunate to have that kind of knowledge and expertise. And then lastly, as Mayor Perkins said, I'll tell you, the technology and the research at this institution has directly contributed to the making of this vaccine. In particular, our former chair of biochemistry, Dr. Robert Rhodes, actually created technology that helps stabilize the mRNA that's part of this vaccine. In fact, here at LSU Health Shreveport, we have license agreements with the company BioNTech and really began our collaborations with them to look at cancer vaccines. So just to tell you, this is not the last time you'll see these kinds of vaccines coming to play. There's a bright new future ahead, and stay tuned. Thank you very much. And Dr. Ghali, the podium's yours.
Yeah. Now, but before I have Dr. White come up, as Dr. Kevel was mentioning, the safety of these vaccines is really unparalleled in history. This vaccine does not have a live virus in it. It doesn't even have a dead virus in it. This is a genetically coded technology which really allows your own body's cells to produce the spike protein, which is identical and analogous to the spike protein that's on the COVID-19 virus, to stimulate an immune response within your own body so that when you do possibly come in contact with this virus, that it attacks that virus. So it's all part of a very complicated formula to impart herd immunity on all the citizens. So either you're going to get the virus or you're going to get vaccinated, and hopefully the latter going forward. None of this could have been possible in our region without the support of the mayor and without the support of Dr. Martha White. Martha, please come up here. She's the Region 7 medical director, and I will tell you that because of her collaboration with Dr. Van Cherry, we have the largest concentration of nursing homes in Louisiana, in North Louisiana. And this doesn't just apply to Region 7, but the entire northern half of the state. And Dr. White, in collaboration with Dr. Van Cherry and the entire EVT project, which, by the way, Mayor, I'm happy to announce has recently received a 1-year approval as a center of excellence by the Louisiana Board of Regents. And hopefully next year when we reapply, normally it's a 5-year deal. They won't do anything like that. But they recognize the importance of the work that's being done here and its effect on the pandemic. But they've got the nursing home positivity rate to less than 2%. It's getting close to 1%. 0.7. That's less than 2. 0.7%. Dr. White.
Thank you, Dr. Ghali. So, Dr. Ghali's right. I did go to medical school here. My father was the first chancellor here, so I have great ties to this wonderful place. When this first case came to Shreveport, I didn't know how much it was going to change my life, much less all of our lives. But LSU has been a part of that from the very beginning. When my husband got sick, he was stabilized at 2 other hospitals. When he got really sick, this is where I brought him. He got every treatment he could possibly get. I don't think he would have survived anywhere else. We did the first convalescent plasma in the state, one of the first, I think it was the second, in the South, and did nitric oxide, which would not have been available to him had he been anywhere else. Many other treatments that were just experimental and protocol, and I told my husband when he woke up, I think I signed away our first grandchild because I just signed whatever paper they said so I could get him in a trial. But what a blessing to have this center here, that they could do that for us. And they can do that for anyone. It's not just because I am who I am. It's anyone who has that need can be a patient here, be treated here, and get those same therapies. So wow, what a blessing to our community. Then as my job kept expanding with the pandemic, we needed testing. And these two gentlemen got together and said, this is not acceptable for us to have testing in so few places and then it taking weeks to get the results back. And they did something about it. And they helped our communities just so immensely. Then my nursing home had a 50% positivity rate. And of those 50% that were positive, a lot of those people were dying. This is Dr. Vancherry. I turned to him, I said, we need to be there. We need to be there. And he said, let's go. He got together a strike team, worked with Dr. Kevel and Dr. Ghali, and made it a situation where we could go into every nursing home that wanted us there and test their staff and residents. Within 2 weeks, we had that outbreak under control. That became the baseline, the way the whole state decided to treat, address the pandemic in nursing homes across the state. They started doing strike teams for testing into their nursing homes based on what we did here, thanks to the EVT lab and Dr. Vancherry, Dr. Kevel. So that to say, what a blessing we have by having this place here. I will tell you all the questions I'm getting about vaccinations. First, is it safe? It's very safe. A lot of people are very concerned about these 4 people who have anaphylaxis. That's 4 out of literally thousands of people. 40,000+ in the trials, not to mention all the thousands of people across the world and in this country who have since received it. 4 people have anaphylaxis. That doesn't mean we don't take that seriously. We are monitoring anyone who gets the vaccine for 30 minutes to make sure that they are doing well and not having any issues. Every person is monitored for every possible outcome. The only issue we've really seen is those 4, and then a few people are having some fevers and flu-like illness. In this community, we have not seen hardly any of that. I think we had a Willis night 1 person call out, and I'm not sure here, but very, very few people have even had that experience. So please know, this is an extremely safe vaccine. I tell people all the time, you're going to be part of the solution or part of the problem. And if you want to be part of the solution, you're going to continue to wear your mask, to social distance, because it's going to be a long time before we reach herd immunity. We took a big step forward, but we still need time for everyone to get their second dose and then to be able to expand dosing into other populations and other communities so that we can reach that herd immunity. That's going to take a long time. As far as who's going to get it next, that's the big question. We know that Moderna, the first vaccine that comes from Moderna, will go to nursing homes and to long-term care facilities, so SNFs, skilled care nursing facilities, as well as nursing homes and EMS, and that's because there are very high-risk groups. But 1B is coming right behind that group, so they're finishing off 1A, Pfizer and this first group of Moderna. Then we'll start with 1B. We don't know exactly who's going to be in that. We're making some assumptions. The American Congress on Immunization Practices, ACIP, will determine who they feel like should be in that priority group. They will adopt that and it will be sent out. The states have to follow that guideline or they won't receive vaccine. So we're waiting to see what that group will be. We believe it'll be law enforcement. We believe it'll be high risk, elderly, and from there, we're just not quite sure. We're looking at dialysis centers and home health, but we don't have that in writing, so we don't know if even those people will be on the list. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but when we get to questions, I'll be happy to answer any further questions.
And I think we'll have some questions here in the end in just a second before I have the mayor come back up. I did receive my first dose of my vaccine on Tuesday. Despite the fact that I probably still had, I've got contact with COVID patients in my practice here at the university. Certainly, I still have some antibodies that are present and active from when I got COVID. But I thought it was important for me as the leader of this institution to step up, get vaccinated, and show everyone that I had the confidence in this mRNA vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine. And so I got it. All I had was a little bit of soreness, Mr. Mayor, nothing that a West Point graduate can't handle. In a Ranger, right there in the shoulder. So we'll be looking forward to getting yours real soon. I'm going to ask Mayor Perkins to come up and make some closing comments, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Ghali. And for those of you at home watching in, we actually have a lot of the doctors and researchers that were responsible behind the camera. So I want to speak directly to them in a moment. So don't think I'm looking off to the distance. But to everybody back there who worked on this vaccine, I can tell you, I wake up every single day and I'm the biggest cheerleader for our community. I don't think there has been any time when I have cheered so loudly and more proud than for the work that you all have done. So today I am very, very excited to announce that I'm going to be giving you a proclamation. Now therefore I, Adrian D. Perkins, Mayor of Shreveport, do hereby proclaim Friday, December 18th, 2020 as LSU Health Shreveport Day in the city of Shreveport, and urge all citizens to celebrate and share their gratitude with these local heroes. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Shreveport to be affixed. Adrian D. Perkins, Mayor. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of LSU and our Health Science Center here, I accept this proclamation with pride and humility. Dr. Kevel will co-accept it because it is his people that helped make this happen. So thank you very much for everything. And I believe, Mr. Mayor, if we have a few minutes, we'll open it up for questions. If there's any questions from the media.
Dr. Ghali, this vaccine, is this a vaccine that we are now going to have to get on a yearly basis? You talked about the antibodies from you contracting COVID-19. The antibodies built from the vaccine itself. How long do they last? And is this just going to be a normal thing?
Yeah.
Getting it on a regular basis?
I'm gonna have Dr. Kevel address that. It's almost, your question is it like the flu where it's seasonal and you gotta get it all the time and there's a possibility that it mutates from year to year?
Yeah, that's a really good question that a lot of people have asked. So one of the things that we do know through the activity of the EVT lab is that the antibodies with both the vaccine and when you get the virus naturally will last many, many months. And in fact, there's continuing evidence that's coming out in the literature to suggest it may even last up to a year or more. However, it's too early yet to really know exactly the time frame that this protective immunity will last. So for example, right now, while Pfizer's rolling out the vaccine, it's still continuing its clinical trials because that's one of the key questions that we have to answer. So we know right now we can get the vaccine to everybody to give them some protection, but we still need to do some studies to determine how long it lasts.
Dr. Kevel, three questions in one. First of all, in January and February, will you be continuing with the testing of adolescents? I'm not sure about the age range.
Right.
15 to 19. And does also that include pregnant women?
Yes. So the question was about testing, and I think the vaccine as well in younger children and pregnant women. And so the answer to that question is yes. And in fact, I spoke with Dr. Van Cherry this morning, And while right now we're testing, doing the vaccine trial between ages of 12 to 15, within the next perhaps 3 to 4 months, certainly by the summertime, we will go even lower than that, to the age ranges between 7 to 12 years of age. So that will happen. And in fact, these trials will continue for the next 26 to 28 months for all ages, so that we can make sure that the vaccine efficacy and safety and duration is understood.
So at the current time, the Pfizer vaccine has FDA, EUA approval for 16 and over age-wise. So the studies are continuing for the younger categories. Any other questions?
Dr. Golly, couldn't you see more than just the Moderna and Pfizer at LSU
Vaccines.
in the area?
Yes, we can. Obviously, the Pfizer and the Moderna are the first that are coming out, but I would predict by early summer, or late spring, early summer, we'll have at least 6 to 8 that are approved by the FDA, and we need that because these vaccines are not only going to be used here, they're going to be used all over the world. So they're going to have to be tailored. There's some parts of the world, if you look at the Pfizer vaccine requires really ultra cold storage. The Moderna cold storage, but it didn't have to be ultra cold, meaning it could be in a deep freezer, in the traditional deep freezer. But there's going to have to be some vaccines that come out depending on what some parts of the world aren't going to have the capability to store, ultra cold facilities in fairly remote areas. Heck, there's places in Louisiana that you can't store ultra cold, which is why the Moderna is going to be dispatched typically centrally from the LDH to smaller hospitals and to nursing home facilities because they don't have the capability. The Moderna would be going there because they don't have the capability for ultra cold storage. These are not cheap freezers. We have 6 of them here. I think we can hold about 500,000 doses, so we're ready to go with that.
Dr. Golly, this is a tremendously complex thing that you guys are describing here today. And is there going to be some type of marketing campaign that LSU Health does to educate the public on this? Because let's be honest, many people in our community still are not wearing masks. I mean, and you're talking about something on a tremendously complex level.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to wear masks. We come up more, and that's something we have to continue to push. I mean, why do you think we're seeing more measles and mumps nowadays? Because less people want to get immunized, and this is not just related to COVID, but it's related to just the general idea, we haven't seen smallpox in a long time. Let me tell you, you don't want to see smallpox.
So how do you market that?
So there is a group working on the state level on diversity and broadening diversity in our state. We know that there's great issues of disparity in this disease. So they have received some federal funds to do education on this vaccine to a lot of diverse groups, and that's very exciting. In fact, Mario shared part of that with me last night. And I think that's a wonderful news. There will be educational materials that come out that try to address a variety of communities to see that if we can answer questions. Hopefully we can do more Zooms like Mario's putting together for the Latino population, but we need to do a lot of those in a lot of different communities, and that's one of the things that we're working on.
I mean, just who are you with, sir? NBC6, yeah. So what all of you guys are doing today, that's critical to get the word out. So what you're doing today, I mean, we couldn't pay $1 million for this advertisement. It's not advertisement in the sense of we're trying to sell vaccines. That ain't the purpose here. We're trying to show that it's safe, it's effective. We have the support of the city, we have the support of the parish, we have the support of the governor to get this done. It is that important. Dr. Kevel, did you want to say something? Yeah. So what you're doing is critical.
One thing to let everybody know is on our website, the Center for Emerging Viral Threats, we have this information that can help everybody get answers to their common questions, and we're happy to provide that website link. In addition, the CEVT has recently put together a one-pager that really covers the topics that we've really talked about here today in a very straightforward manner that really will allow the public and everybody that are out there with questions to understand what these vaccines are and how important they are. So we'll be able to distribute that to everybody as well.
And I just want to put one plug in for one other thing, since the mayor's here and the media is here, is behind you is that parking lot that's sort of empty, that has cars in it to your right. And then behind that is one building left that we have to get torn down. And then it goes to the church there. But between here and where the church is where our new medical education building is going to go. And within that new medical education building, which is really going to be created primarily to expand our medical school class size from 150 to 200 to improve access to medical care particularly in rural parishes. But it's also going to house a 10 to 12,000 square foot emerging viral threat lab and center. That's where that center is going to go. And it's going to go in that parking lot right there as part of that medical education building. And hopefully groundbreaking for that will be in the mid-springtime of this coming year. Mayor, we expect you to be there, and I'm sure the governor will be here as well. So thank you all so much for that. Yes, sir, please.
I just want to jump in on this point. I was a part of a press conference earlier this week where that question came up. My office has been bombarded by that question as well on how we get over the hump of getting people in our community to trust this vaccine, take this vaccine. And I got to tell you, we are not underestimating that at all. We know that in this journey to getting back to normalcy, that is a big, big step. And I got to tell you, this is going to take everybody. It's going to take our community. We're going to have to come together with this. Just like in the middle of this vaccine, when we seen disproportionate effects, we studied which communities were being impacted the most, and we directed our resources, our messaging to those communities. Fortunately, we learned our lesson, and on this side, as we're administering the vaccine, we'll be able to measure which demographics or any kind of populations that aren't taking the vaccine, and we'll be able to target that. But I can tell you, there are people in our community that will not listen to the mayor, that won't listen to doctors or researchers, but they will listen to clergy, or they will listen to their local neighborhood leaders. So this is something that we as a community are gonna have to all come together with, because we cannot have it both ways. We have to make a decision. Do we want to return to normalcy, or do we want to take the vaccine? And I think everybody wants to return to normalcy. So again, this is a community effort. I'm encouraging everyone to continue listening to the experts and take this vaccine so that we can reach that goal of herd immunity and we can return to our normal lives and get past this very dark time in our history. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions for the mayor, for Dr. White, for Dr. Kevin? If not, thank you very much, and we appreciate your coverage of this important event. Thank you, Mayor, for being here.